So to get us in the mood, Elizabeth, when you're ready, we're going to have a wee short video from last year's festival. And during that, think a moment for what is it you'd like from this session and put it in the chat. So a wee introduction. Here's the video, which I think you can find on the website actually, but over to you, Elizabeth, when you are ready.
You're reading all the books that can be read to find purpose in your bed, 'cause you sleep with lonesome. The greatest gift that life gave to you was your age and every single thing that you do. Oh, but I've been getting older. I tried to leave my youth behind through a sense of shame. Sometimes it's just a bit of laughter to keep the blues away. In all the clothes you like to buy, you think the earth is keeping its watchful eye on the traits you'll never hide. In all the words you speak aloud to keep your ego proud. Oh, but I was getting older and I tried to leave my youth behind through a sense of shame.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Well, that lovely. A lovely reminder. I'm trying to work out whether John Curtis with his election predictions was right or wrong, but we'll come back to that. And that was lovely. Thank you. So the plan now, people, will be I'm going to be introduction to some of the program, to the festival and some program. John's going to do a bit about some practicalities, and actually do put in the chat if you want to know particular practicalities. Welcome those joining us. We'll then have a little bit of some content on maybe some music, and Andy will read some poetry, and then with questions. Okay, that's the thing, and discussion. So let me start. What is Solas Festival and what's it all about? So some of you, I can think of maybe one or two, will have been all 14 editions that we've actually met. Some will be scarcely heard of us. So let's just get very quickly to the basics. We are an outdoor, not-for-profit festival attended by up to around 1,000 people. Margaret, we are on speaking.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So sorry.
You disagree with that? I'm only joking. It's in a beautiful country estate, halfway between Perth and Dundee. And actually, we're going to get on the website some drone footage of the estate, which is beautiful. The people can and they do come sometimes just for the day, and they can stay off-site. But it's probably fair to say that most people come for the weekend. Most people camp. And I was thinking, actually, I get told off for this, but the program isn't everything. For me, in a post-COVID world, coming together, hanging out together, seeing each other, spending time together is a powerful and a beautiful thing and a beneficial thing. And that's what a festival is about. So what do we actually do? It's quite hard to describe. Here are some of the slogans which have been used in the past about Solas, which might help a bit to position us. So sometimes we've called ourselves Scotland's Midsummer Festival of Music, Midsummer Festival of Music, Arts, Ideas, and Well-being. Um, Elizabeth, it's actually Margaret's name. I don't know if you can get my face. Maybe it doesn't matter, but just to say that. Second, sometimes we've been called a wee Woodstock. But if you look at our constitution, it says that we're a celebration of the coming together of arts, justice, and faith. So those are kind of the slogans. But the best way maybe to get the flavor, or to give you the flavor of what it is that we are, is talk a bit about what's coming this year. What's coming this year. It's far too much to list now, and I won't do that. But here's some of what I think certainly are highlights, and others might have other ideas because others know about the program. And so let's start, as we often do, with the music. We are quite a music festival. There's high quality music from the moment you arrive on the late afternoon, early evening till a Sunday, I mean even. And Chris, our program director, worked really hard to get the right mix between a main stage experience and a more intimate thing in the stables, which is a smaller venue. And we've been hearing some of the acts. Those who early heard Kinnar's quintet. I think we heard El Guapo. We're going to hear another one in a minute. Personally, I'm looking forward to Blue Rose Code. A lot of people know that. Katie Gregson MacLeod. Have a listen to great Katie Gregson MacLeod's fantastic. And for me, the inimitable Brass Eye. Get out on the field with a fantastic jazz and brass. I'll also perhaps love the Pilgrim Society, a dynamic fusion of African, North European, and 60s, 70s American funk. So they always find new things. That's a great thing about it. And with some of the Event Scotland money we've had this year, we're going to look particularly at promoting some local talent. So music, other art forms. So with Andy Jackson on board as our resident poet, resident literally because he's lives in Errol, as he said here. You can be sure we're going to have some great literature and poetry. Maybe Andy will give us a bit later on. I want to mention in particular two acts I'm excited about. I'm excited about Harry Baker. I don't know if you heard Harry Baker, but he's a great performance poet, a great sense of humor. And then people called the Loud Poets. They're going to do a workshop on how we can use our creativity to protest, how we can be effective in protesting with our creativity. And after the workshop, they'll be doing a main stage bit of loud poetry later in the evening. So I'm looking forward to them. Talking about other arts, a particular mention that we're going to dip our toe into a bit of theatre this year. We're having a performance on the Friday evening of The Beloved Son, which is a very moving piece on the life and struggles of Henry Nouwen. Henri Nouwen. So that's a lovely piece. The overall theme is rest and be thankful. And that is a nod to our enhancing our quite well-known well-being strand. So as those who've been before will know it's partly about all sorts of different kinds of yoga, often out in the grass, often in the sunshine, not always, or different types of meditation. But it's also about, for example, a session on writing for mental health, which Andy knows about and is bringing to us. Rhythms for recovery, so people in recovery, how we can help people use creativity. And for the first time, a real sauna on site. So heard it here first, maybe a sauna on site. So the well-being strand is important. The social justice banner is important to us too. And we're proud, I guess, as a festival, that we've developed a reputation where there can be respectful debate on the issues of the day. And that's part of our USP. And we look forward to debating with Brian Taylor and some political spokespeople on how we can bring the values of the Scottish Parliament, wisdom, compassion, justice, and integrity, to life in the next year's election, putting integrity on the ballot paper. That's what we're calling that session. And we're taking further the partnership we love with Vox Liminis, who work with people with experience of the criminal justice system. And finally, building on last year's success, we're going to be holding with our Methodist friends a further vigil for peace, going beyond the Palestine to other places in the world too. I'm afraid there are lots of places you can think of, as I can. In terms of spirituality, we'll once again challenge people to say, come up with a way of creating a participative and creative worship moment. So there'll be that for those who choose to on the Sunday. There'll be also discussions which we've just put together in the last day or two with people from different faith traditions as to what resting and being thankful means for them, how we do that. And then also we'll enjoy Siskin Green, who described themselves as feminism, folk, and faith. A great band. So, and more there too. One of the loveliest things I want to mention about Solas is how safe and welcoming it feels. So we're told. I'm getting there, guys. That's good for children and families with children. So giving we particular thought this year, by the way, to children neurodiversity, so neurodivergent children and their families. But the program will also include lots of things to delight young people, and not just young people, but from a magic show to fishy music to den building, an array of crafty activity. I think it's going to be a particular session, if I've got this right, an hour and a half or something, with bringing all the crafty things together, if I understand that rightly. But we're also recognizing, I think it's important if I think of my 13-year-old me, that for some young people, a ball and a goal is enough. So that as well. I could go on for hours and we can talk questions and maybe actually, Andy, when you have your session in a wee minute, maybe you could talk a wee bit about the loud poets, how that would be. I see Naomi's asking about that. That would be good. Shall we, Elizabeth, shall we do that thing? Shall we show, do you want to show that part of that black denims and then we'll come to John? Shall we do that?
Well, you know, baby, I love you with all the words in my heart. I wish you'd told me sooner, or maybe at the start, baby. That loving you ain't easy, and there's no right way, you'll see. And I'm only in the doghouse 'cause you keep barking me. Not even the son of a priest said that love could bring us peace. Silver bullets and garlic cloves won't stow away the beast. There goes our heirloom china, there goes our special plates, there goes our love, the memory locked out the pearly gates. So put down the daggers and knives that she used to split those sides of crazy love me to chill. Am I too loud to listen, or are you too blind to see that I'm only in the doghouse 'cause you keep bargaining me? Won't you keep on barking? Won't you keep on barking? Won't you keep on barking? This time, baby, did I not give you enough?
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It was great. They were having a good time. Looking forward to that. If we may, turn to John. So, John, a little bit about practicalities. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Frank, that's a tough act to follow.
Give us a song. Can you do it in song? Can you do it in song, maybe?
I'll spare you all that. But yes, so thanks everyone for joining. As Frank mentioned, I am the production manager for Solas Festival this year. Very excited to be involved. It is my first year involved. So very much look forward to being on site and here to give you a few bits of information about practicalities. So Frank mentioned that the festival will be running this year, Friday the 20th of June through to Sunday the 22nd. In terms of getting to Errol Park, we are delighted to have seen the growth of an electric bus company called Ember, and Ember runs services all throughout Scotland, actually. So we are very lucky in that the services that they run, virtually all of them, go between Perth and Dundee. And so that means that you can get on at Glasgow or Edinburgh or right up Aberdeen way. And the route will pass between Perth and Dundee, and there is a stop there called Horn Milk Bar, and we will then be running shuttle services right through from Friday afternoon through until Sunday afternoon, free of charge. So that's the method of public transport that we are promoting. We will also be sharing details around car sharing platforms that people can use. Once you arrive on site, there is a fantastic team of a mix of staff and volunteers. So Claire, who is on the call, has done an incredible job for many years running the volunteer program along with Kirsty Walker, a fellow board member. So there will be a team of volunteers and paid staff, stewards to welcome everyone. For those driving, there's a one-way system. It will be clearly signposted and maps will be on our website. So you can refer to that, but very straightforward to get into Errol Park itself, and you'll then be directed to the relevant space. Whether you are camping, and there is a dedicated accessible camping area along with general camping. For those seeking accessible camping, there will be a space, but also vehicles will be allowed, so that's no problem. Or if you decide to bring a camper van, that is also no problem. We have a separate dedicated camper van area for you. Now, we may have another couple of accommodation options. So if you are concerned about camping or camper vanning, please do get in touch, and we can possibly offer alternative and slightly more comfortable accommodation. So in terms of what's happening on site, Frank also mentioned a sauna. This will be the first year that we have a sauna as part of the festival. So that will be available to book, and that is Soul Water Saunas. So they are providing the sauna this year. We will be making use of the stables as per previous years. So that means that there's the main festival site, which is all outdoors, made up of various temporary structures, but we will also be having performances and workshops taking place in the stables, which is an indoor space. As you can imagine, we pride ourselves on being a very accessible festival, so it means that we take a lot of care to make the space physically accessible, but also as welcoming as possible as well. So in terms of prices, we have a range of different ticket prices. Possibly if I just share my screen for a moment, that will enable you all to see our web page, the relevant web page, which has the different prices. And this just gives you an idea of whether you buy an advance ticket, and that could be a full weekend ticket, or you can purchase individual days. There's concession prices. I mentioned camper van accommodation, so there's a camper van ticket available there, or pay at the gate, so you can turn up. We would strongly recommend purchasing advance tickets. It helps to stave off the grey hairs for us to be a bit more certain about numbers coming. But if that's not an option for you, then paying at the gate is not a problem. So that hopefully gives you an idea of the prices. Can I just check if there's anything else, any other bits of information that would be useful for anyone on the call?
Elizabeth's asking about barrows. I'm not sure I know the answer, to be honest.
So this is, I'm sorry,
For
are there
moving
barrows
stuff,
to help
for
with
moving
moving
stuff
stuff?
to help people when they arrive.
Okay.
We can think
So
about that.
there is
Sorry.
certainly that's something we can think about, but there will be a team of staff and volunteers, stewards to assist if anyone needs help with anything.
Did you mention, John, the campsite will be slightly different? Perhaps you haven't. If you have it, so it's actually going to be on the right of the field, the road as we arrive. So the impact of that will be one of the impacts will be we're all much nearer the entry gate to the field, if that makes sense. It's less of a journey tents, I have to say.
I can attempt to share this map just to give everyone an idea of the site as a whole. I'm not sure if everyone is seeing this.
Yes,
I'm
I am
hoping that
anyway.
this
Yeah.
comes up on screen. So
Yes.
for those of you who are familiar with the festival, this will make a lot of sense, but I'll just describe this. So this area that's on the map here is Errol Park. It is a working farm as well as a venue. The one-way system will be in operation, and this is where the shuttle bus will come in to Errol Park itself, and there'll be a checkpoint with stewards, and you'll then be directed along to what we would call the main festival site. Now, previously, the camping area has been to the south of the main arena, the main site, but due to Highland cows needing to graze on some nice fresh grass, we have been asked to move the camping area, so it's now north of the main festival site. We have the primary camping and accessible camping just next to it. Parking will be in the same area as previously, as will the camper van area. So hopefully that gives a clear sense of the layout this year.
Can people recall for Alice's question whether the toilets in the stables, where we have with Delighted being a camping festival, but still with some toilets in rooms, are disabled? But presumably are we getting disabled access camping ones? Are we, John?
That is correct. Yes,
Yeah.
we are.
Yeah, and the toilets next to the stables are accessible, are they not?
That's
I
certainly
think they
my
are, but I wouldn't want to
understanding.
promise it. But okay. Okay. So the venue's lovely. There are not so many adjustments. There's going to be our good friends from the Methodists are going to have quite a they do a venue which feels and looks like a pub. The Hope and Anger is going to be bigger than before, which is a lovely venue, and we are going to think about creating a low sensory venue, aren't we? John, for those with neurodiversity, is what we're trying to do. Okay, let's is that all right? And John, people can ask questions in a wee minute. So why don't we have, if I've got this right, let's have Andy with a few readings and then over to everybody else for questions. Andy, over to you. And do you want to say anything about the Loud Poets while you're at it?
Yes, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
That's good. Great. Thank you. So yes, there was a question about the protest poetry, and I'm very pleased to have the Loud Poets Collective, one of Scotland's, well, perhaps Scotland's foremost live spoken word experience. Some very energetic and vocal poets. A group of them will be leading a workshop on words of protest, how we can use the richness of our various languages and the great British tradition of polite and sometimes not so polite protests. So they'll be helping to explore how we might use words to pursue political or social or emotional aims in our lives. They'll also be giving us a performance, so they'll demonstrate what they mean when they talk about protest poetry. And we think that's going to be around early evening on the Saturday, and it's sure to be a standout. So don't miss the Loud Poets, I would say. Um, in order to give you a flavour of the sort of things that the spoken word strand might include, I'm going to read three pieces from people you might hear if you come along to this year's festival. And I'm going to start with a poem from Podrigo Tuama, who is a name many of you will know, a regular supporter of Solas. Podrig's from County Cork in Ireland, and he's a poet, a theologian, a mediator, and hosts the unfeasibly popular podcast Poetry Unbound, which has spawned a number of best-selling books. And we hope that we're going to welcome him back to Solas this year. And this is his poem, Rite of Baptism. If you pass, know that you will have no say about what happens. Some of our people will hate you as they hate themselves. You must create a life without giving them all your life's attention. Some people will delight in destroying you. Some will strike you. Some will choose others as their favorites. Some have been waiting for you for generations, circling like hunters round your little heart. Of course, they don't know you. This truth will set you free eventually, but only after you've forgotten this. You haven't learnt to fly yet, have you? Somebody will love you, somebody will hurt you too, but you know that already. We offer you little in the way of certainty, just that the country you live in will not always be that country. There is a lot you'll need to suffer. Remember, help is a howl and an imperative, nothing to be ashamed of. One way or another, shame can teach you what nothing else can teach you, one way or another. Your body is an event, and you'll spend decades unpacking what's happened. Here are some things we cannot guarantee you. Guarantees, or history's purity. Here is what we can. A platform on which your past can make or break, depending on how power is conceived. There is no such thing as the past, just stories of the past, poorly reenacted. And nobody knows where the past begins. In the beginning, it was all a dream, not a story. Remember, you must believe some of this. So I think you can get a sense of the tapping into the energy of well-being and wellness generally, which Paul Ray brings to his work, and a bit of protest in there as well. So it's the kind of voices that we'll be using to engage our audience at Solas this year. I'm going to read you something slightly different now, from one of Scotland's young emerging poetic voices, Len Penny, who is a name that if you go into any bookshop in Scotland, you will know, because every stand has got Len Penny's book, Poems, facing you. It's a wonderful piece of thing that sort of spirit burns with a modern energy and vigor. And it was selected as the Scots Book of the Year last year. So Len will be appearing at the festival this year, and I can't wait to meet them and to hear them. I'm going to read something which is in Scots, so I'm going to mangle this terribly because Len's words are lovely, tender Scots words, and you might recognise my accent as being not quite as Scots as theirs is. So this is called Dear Darling. Dear Darling, should this letter find you long after I've passed, please ken my heart still loves you, though it may have beat its last. Wi' every gasp, a hud inside the body long since deed, ken each breath was meant for you, each lungful freely gied. Ken you were once the lassie that belonged under my arm, a lassie that I'd fecht to keep from ony kind of harm. We held each moment tenderly, wi' a heart to boon them all. And for all time, you were my lassie, and I was years and all. I canna overstate this, but I'll gie it a wee go. I'll tell you how you make me want to live a lang life slow. I'll tell you either way your heart made mine ken what love is. I'll tell you there's no life I want that doesn't contain us. There isn't the only force aboon this earth that has power left to smite us. If there's better afterlife, it's 'cause it'll reunite us. The light that shines a hint your een, the lips lies seldom rest atween, the heart I'll hold as long as I hae breath. Come cruel cold blade and smite my neck, love kens nae death. This lassie's lassie will be fine. I ken fine weel you had the time to love anew, but mind, my dear, when there was us, and we, and me, and you. So, get the book because it's really well worth a read. A lovely introduction to Scots in a modern style. One of the things about the spoken word strand this year is variety. We're going to be hearing some traditional Scottish folk tales about the hunt for a murderer, the history of women's football, poetry as a means of protest we mentioned, well-being walks, there'll be a little pop-up bookshop selling poems, and much, much more. So somewhere at Solas this year, a piece of wonderful literature is waiting to find you. So I'm going to finish with a poem called A Poem is Coming for You. A poem is coming for you in an old car, walnut dashboard, leather trim, driven by a person you have never met who seems to know the way, the shortcuts, and the minor roads. They warn you that they cannot guarantee to take you where you want to go, and that the brakes could fail at any moment. The poem could be someone you have seen, maybe in the street. You pass them daily, though you don't acknowledge them. Once you heard them whistling a tune you thought you knew, a childhood song, a lung full of smoke. Their dark cloak parted, flashed a hint of iridescent lining in a colour even poets could not name. Sometimes the poem is an animal. It knows to stay downwind of you, out of sight. You heard it nosing round your bins last night, looking for the things you tried to throw away. It doesn't care about you. You were just another creature, scared and hungry. But the poem is smart, and one day it will find out how to get into your home. So there you go, a flavour of the kind of words you'll be hearing if you tune into our spoken word strand. Lots to see and do, and I hope to see some of you, if not all of you, at Solas in June. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Andy. That's super. Really looking forward to that. What appetizer that is. We really love our connection with Errol. Um, Andy, it's great to have you. You don't have to wear a Bruach t-shirt to show your solidarity with Errol, which is what I've got on now. And just thought I'd mention it to the local band, but it's so good. That's so good. Okay, enough of that. We're going to come to comments and questions. And what I suggest is, John, if you can maybe help me also looking at the comments in the chat, which we haven't answered. Maybe we could start with questions, but if people want to, as we go along, give tips for other people as to how you make the most of Solas, yeah, or even mention one or two of your best moments of your experience of Solas, that's great too. But let's give people a space at the start. Anybody want to ask? You can put it in the chat, or you could, or better, even raise your hand. So let's see. Elizabeth, we've actually got Andy's spotlight, at least I do. I don't know about others.
I think it's you that I'm seeing. I wonder
Okay,
who other
lucky
people
you.
are seeing.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. So anybody got any questions they want to raise? John, I wonder if is there any more you can say about catering, or have you I know you mentioned three. Are there any? Are we going to have the ice cream we thought we might? Was that not the
We're,
question I should ask you? That unfair.
we're working on it. I'm
Working
confident
on
there will
it.
be ice cream. I'm confident there will be. Yes,
Yeah. Fine. I don't want to
And
put you on
coffee, and coffee.
coffee.
That's
Yeah,
also
okay.
being worked
Yeah,
on.
yeah. But we're going to avoid the issue last year. We just have the right number rather than overdoing it, having the right number.
That's
Any
the
other
plan.
questions, John, or others you thought we should answer, which we already have? There's a suggestion there from Alistair around toilets, which you could just look at and see.
Naomi's got her hand.
Yeah.
Okay, go for it, please.
I think Alistair had a question.
Naomi, do you have a question, or are you asking for Alistair?
For Alistair.
Alistair, have you got a question?
No, a couple of things that I've enjoyed in the past and hope we might
Yes.
see again. Communal singing that Brian McGlynn did regularly was a real highlight for many. It was gospel stuff, but it was great and inclusive.
Great.
And also, it'd be really good to have some sort of communal art theme that was accessible to everybody. That would be really good. And just a quick wheelchair accessible question for John. I came on a Saturday last year. Friday was torrential rain. Saturday was beautiful sun. Everything had dried out, but there were patches of the field that were pretty impossible. And it would have been good to know where those were to avoid them, and even better to have got down some sort of hay or something that might have dried it out further. So if it rains, it's good to have someone having a look at areas that perhaps for able-bodied people will be no problem at all. But if you're driving a wheelchair, you get sunk very easily. So that's just something to feedback on.
Thank you. So let's do one or two of those. So one would say, John, I think it'd be really good to involve the people on the site team who've experience of several years, who can be looking in the days before as we set up. Is that exactly Alistair's point? And depending on the forecast and all that, so we look where there's going to be a risk. On your I agree with you, Alistair, about what's been great. We're going to have some people we hope to have people called the Singing Mamas. who are going to be doing some participative singing, who various people on this call know. And that'll be fun. I have to say I do love the Brian stuff. I might even see if he's free. We'll see. But yeah, on the art stuff, we're going to have a mural which people are going to create as we go along, and we're also in line with the theme. We're going to have a tree of gratitude where people find ways of expressing their gratitude for things that I don't quite know how it's working, but there'll be an artistic way of doing that. So yeah, thank you. Claire, why don't you say? Are you happy, Claire? Say a wee bit in response to Amanda's question about volunteers, because volunteers are a great way of helping us. It's also a great way of people who can't quite afford to come if they want to come and have a free festival. So, Claire.
Yes, thank you for your questions, Amanda. Our volunteer team is lovely and all ages and all abilities. On the sign up form for anyone who's interested in volunteering, the link to that is on the website. And we have had volunteers in the past who are very keen, but have said, for example, that they've had a knee operation and can't do a big moving around job. So there are always sitting down jobs that can be done as well. But as I said in my earlier message, you're mainly about being the face of Solas in your high-vis vest. We ask for 3 4-hour shifts over the festival weekend, possibly only 2, depending on the number of volunteers. So, and there are options within that to swap your shift with somebody if it clashes with a band that you really want to see or a talk that you particularly want to do. Our volunteers have been very good about exchanging that within the team. So hopefully it means that you can get to feel part of making Solas happen, and board members and everyone who is paid to help make it happen, the members of staff, are hugely grateful to our volunteers. We really cherish them. We will also feed you during your shifts. We will have snacks available and a volunteer hub for free tea and coffee as well. And the aim is that you get to come and enjoy the festival, feel part of it for free, in exchange for a bit of fairly chill work.
Thank you, Claire. I don't know if anyone else has been involved in that way, but it's a great way. It's also, I have to say, I do mean it when we say we're a safe, friendly place, and as a dangerous thing to say, but over all these years, it's always been fine. We always need to make sure we are covering, but it's a very good way as introduction to festivals of people who haven't done many festivals, and being a volunteer at Solas is a good way in. John. Sorry, Claire, do you want to say any more? Or John?
I was just going to say, yes, we've had a lot of people come to the festival on their own who've been able to make friends quickly and easily because they've been part of the team, and you are supported in being part of the volunteer team by primarily myself and Kirsty, who John mentioned, because we are the volunteer coordinators. So you don't have to be ultimately responsible for any emergency that happens. You refer it on up to us and the site team.
And Claire does a seriously good job and is leaving the board. So who wants to join next year? It's just a wee question. So John, I think you wanted to speak.
Yes, it was just in response to Alistair, and thanks very much, Alistair, for raising those points about accessibility and especially around weather. And I understand last year was particularly bad, and that was very much noted as part of the handover and also on the minds of the team at Errol Park. We've also received a bit of funding from Event Scotland to provide all-terrain buggies. So they will be available for free for those who would like to use them to access different parts of the site. So we'll be doing 2 things there. We will be looking at the ground and making it as accessible as possible, but we'll also be providing those buggies for those who would like to use them.
I've forgotten the buggies. Good one, John. Quite right. So, questions, or anybody got tips for other people on this call how to make the most of Solas?
I would definitely say that it's worth going for a day, even if you can't go for the whole thing. I've done both the whole thing camping, which is quite hard work, camping and moving around the site and keeping up with everything that's going on. Don't try and do everything. Just be pick your favorite thing or two, hang out with your friends on the straw bales. That's a big thing in Solas for me, meeting up with people that you don't see from one year to the next and catching up with people. But if you can only come for the day, or you prefer that because you want to get home for a shower, then it's absolutely worth going for a day. I did that last year, and it was super. I'm really glad I did and didn't just write it off because I couldn't come for the whole weekend. So yeah, and as you say, a great way to experience the festival for the first time. I've never done anything like it before since I came to Solas, so definitely up for first timers.
Thanks, Elizabeth. One thought I haven't said to you before, John, is the space between venues matters too. What I mean is to be places that people can hang out in, so we can have a chat about what that means. I know you've got a site visit coming in a week's time, but thinking about the space between venues is good. So who else?
Yeah, just in response to Elizabeth, the sauna is there this year. So who needs a shower? Just go in the sauna and then go to the plunge pool and you'll feel like $1,000,000.
And Naomi's got her hand up as well.
Yeah, on you go.
Again, just following on from Elizabeth, our experiences every year has just been a lovely, lovely experience. And I think part of that is that we've been quite selective in what we've gone to, and tried, because some of the sessions you really need to take time to take stock of and to reflect over. So, I think it's a mistake to sort of fill your day full and try and get to everything, anything and everything that you're interested in. So I think being selective is a good way to go. And like Elizabeth said, because it's quite a small festival, it's more intimate than a festival like Greenbelt, for example, where I must admit I felt completely and utterly overwhelmed. I didn't know where to start. But just to spend time catching up with people from one year to the next as well. And if the weather's good, there's nothing nicer than just sitting and having a drink and sitting on a hay bale and having a kind of heart to heart with someone that you've maybe not seen for a little while. So I agree completely with what Elizabeth was saying.
So good advice, Naomi. One thing for me would be not always to go to head things. You know what I mean? I'm always tempted to go to the talk about politics or whatever, but actually some of the, it's after all, whilst we try and talk about a theme and all that, we want people to have a really good time as well, and relax, and the rest to be thankful is the theme after all. Nicola M.
Hi, I have a question about the timing. So something was posted earlier. So if you were just coming for the day, what are the timings of the event, of the start time and the end time? And is it easy enough if you were bringing your car to leave at the end of the day, just in terms of, you did cover it a little bit, but just to be sure, yeah.
Another good question. So, and it does vary a little bit from year to year, but people start arriving about 5 onwards, I think, on the Friday. Things probably start about 6. A message for quite a few of the old timers, if I put it that way, is we have this theatre who's coming on Friday night. So I know it might not be easy for everybody, but I'd love if people could come, if they can, the beloved son. So, and then what happens, let's say Friday, for example, would be probably have program staff until 11, then there'd be a open mic folky thing afterwards. Yeah. Saturday is the fullest day, you can imagine, for obvious reasons. Would probably start with yoga at 9, but panels and things might start at 10, and then would go on similarly, with the main headline stage starting at 6 or 7 or something, possibly the Loud Poets actually, then going on till 11 again, and then going to the stables for open mic, maybe some poetry, some singing, etc., till 1 or something, and leaving is fine because we're small scale, I have to say. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe. And Sunday depends a bit how much we have on store, but it starts the same kind of time, tends to finish about 6ish. So those are timings. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, great.
I could just add a couple of practical things to that, I guess. There's a different car park for day visitors than for those who are there the whole weekend. I think that's right, isn't there? So that makes it easier if you're just slipping off. Somebody put in the chat there about bring a folding chair. So a folding chair, a lightweight folding chair, or you'll get tired of carrying it about, or a blanket to sit on. Bring a bit of your own loo roll, just to be really practical. A blanket, because in the evening sometimes the temperature drops when you're sitting watching the late night concerts. Bring a blanket with you. And there are proper toilets over in the stables. So although some of them are portaloos, there are proper toilets if it matters to you to know that.
That's all good advice. Those things matter. I'm sure other things I can't think right now. You don't need to bring your running spikes this year, unlike last year when we had the Chariots of Errol race around the site, which you saw in the film. What other tips, Mr. Sedgwick? Dr. Sedgwick, are you there? Have you got any tips for us? Don't worry, it's all right. Good to see you, David.
Tips, yeah, great to see you, and it's great to have the festival continuing actually, and thanks to all the people that get involved in it. It's fantastic, it really is. As a vintage green belter from since '86, and I think I've done 14 of the 15 Solases. Yeah, it's just to sample things that you're not necessarily you think, well, should I go to that? Should I not? And sometimes you find that you are surprised by what you end up in. There have been some fantastic sessions. Leslie Riddick was there at one point. I remember Ricky having a really old guitarist who died last year. I can't remember his name now, but he was a really brilliant. That was a really brilliant session actually with Ricky Ross. Some of the meditative sessions, the vigil last year on Palestine with Alison Phipps was important. And I think it is going to be important that we do have something on Palestine in this, because what's going on there at the moment, as someone who's worked in the West Bank and Gaza, there needs to be something said and an opportunity for people to talk about their reactions and things to that. I think that's really important, actually, in that. But yeah, I mean, I've camped each time, and I've got an 83-year-old coming with me who's camping as well, and he's a regular. He's done virtually all the Solases as well, and it's great to see friends. I see some on screen here who I meet up with, and it's the only time I do see them actually in the year, and that's a valuable thing. And seeing people going on.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that. I always admire the way you participate when you go to things. Let's go to the event and don't just be a consumer. People could, so like the fact you were doing great stuff on medical aid for Palestine last year, but when there's debate, joining in and participating, that's all good. Thank you. I do, incidentally, I'm very pleased about the interfaith strand, which is emerging today and yesterday. I think maybe around the Palestine, that's helpful as well, if you can imagine, for us. Any other questions, folks? I might put a question to you guys in a minute. Well, let me try that. Let me throw this out, which is, what would help you spread the word, or what would encourage you to come? There we are, people. Because I don't think it's a secret that it's quite hard work. We're spreading the word as best we can, but people are certainly post-COVID quite reluctant to sign up to stuff, I have to say. We're not worried it's going to be fine, but what would help you spread the word? Anyone got any thoughts? Any material? Any? What sort of graphics?
Naomi's got an idea, yeah, and
Shan, do you want to speak to that, or do you want to add more in the chat with what you mean by that?
Who's he asking?
Okay.
Who you asking?
Naomi, why don't you speak while Shan?
Okay.
Deals with
I was just wondering, Frank, because I think you tried to use some sort of green belt advert. I can't remember what it was you went on to, but I'm just wondering if you feel there's been much response by putting an advert on the green belt mailing list.
I'd be interested whether anybody here tonight is here through that, incidentally, because that was what we advertised. It struck me as a very a pre-existing, very straightforward thing for us to do. And if people don't know, there's an English festival where we originally started to be, let's be honest, and various people like Ian and Dave Sedgwick and others are very much. So I don't know. It's a good question, Amy. We do lots of things. We've not been very good at measuring what's the thing that has what impact. Alison B, you want to speak? Go on, Alison. Nice to see you.
I unmute. I was trying to work out how to unmute. Hi there.
Hi,
We've
guys.
been hiding. We've been hiding away here. I think we don't publicise enough about all the wellbeing stuff. I love Mark Russell's tent and all the wellbeing. I'm part of the British Society of Lifestyle Medicine, and I work alongside about 200 GPs that are managing medical conditions with lifestyle. You have so much good stuff. Dr. Sheena Fraser comes and talks about the microbiome. You've got the lovely Janice Klein coming apparently this year to talk about ferments and lots of great stuff. So I think we need to publicise that more. I think there's a whole audience that we're missing.
So that's really interesting. I mean, I suppose I shouldn't spend the whole session here talking too much about our marketing, but I do think you are right. And we have, Alison, we are in fact going to pull together the whole well-being story in the next week, which includes, the important point for me here is it includes what Andy talked about in terms of well-being for writing. Well, writing for well-being, sorry. What I mean is there's a whole variety of strands, but it isn't just in the yoga tent. You see what I mean? There's a whole variety of things all related to the same theme. So if I were to give you some material, you could let us know where you think we could be deploying it. That would be interesting for me.
Absolutely. You've got Nick that comes who does the chi walking. There's meditation. There's lots of really, really good stuff. But I think that we forget about it. There's so much good stuff that we forget about, the whole variety.
What's your tip, guys? What's your tip for enjoying Solas?
What do we love?
What's your tip? Or what would you say to others who have never been? What would you say?
And come along, there's something for everyone. I went for years, we did a Premier Inn or somewhere nearby, and then we moved on, we dipped our toe in the water and we got a yurt for a few years, which I absolutely loved. And we last year camped for the first time in a real live tent. My first experience ever being in a tent. I know Dave's laughing. He was nearby with a China teapot, which really, really helped me. So thank you for that. But we're coming back with the tent again this year. So we're going to do it. But I would say, come along. There's something for everyone. We bring our wee dog. We bring our friends. Love it. Absolutely love it.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. So anybody else want to chip in on anything? We've got 3 or 4 minutes left. Any other board member or any other staff member who wants to say anything? On you go.
Frank, one thing I was wondering, obviously we're quite close to Dundee, and there's a lot of people stay in Dundee, and to have a festival or a gig on their doorstep, and particularly someone like Blue Rose Code playing is quite an important thing, and maybe trying to attract people through in some way by publicizing it on social media there. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a great social media person, but some way of getting something up in town or posters up in the town or something like that might be a useful way, and maybe St Andrews as well, possibly.
So I maybe ask Alistair if he wants to say anything on that, to be honest. Alistair, who's the Dundee man. A couple of things. One would be, I'm very pleased that we have had support from various government agencies, one of which was Event Scotland, to pay for posters. So you should watch out. You should be some big posters in, maybe not Fort William, I'm not sure. Sorry, but in the important towns. No. Let me rephrase that. So there'll be posters in Dundee and Glasgow and Edinburgh and etc. So that's a good thing. It was interesting, just as an aside, I wrote to Brian Taylor to say, would you come and do the political session? And I mentioned Tannadice, which is what worked. Dundee, but the local thing matters, doesn't it? The local thing does matter. And one of the benefits of being Errol as opposed to where we were 4 or 5, 6 years ago is that we are definitely between the two towns, if you know what I mean. It's a good way we can try and. So I agree with you. Alistair, any thoughts? Or don't worry. Oh, you are. Yeah. Radio tape.
think
Yeah.
Naomi's got her hand up too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Blue Rose Code themselves have a lot of followers, and I think if you spoke nicely to Ross Wilson, they might advertise Solas. Not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. There's definitely some, and James is on the line. There's definitely something about part of the deal of coming and performing should be part of that too. But we could be. There's some people who we know who are more than just coming because it's a payable gig for them. They're coming because they're real supporters, and that would be a case in that case. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, guys? 47 days. Not that I'm counting. 45 seconds. So, Shan, you want to get the bookings for the sauna any minute now? You get the whole family coming. Are there any
Somebody's
other
added
hands
in
up?
the chat, Frank, about really publicising the public transport
Yes.
options really widely. Yeah.
I agree with that, and I do like the fact we look out for car share options because I do, well, knowing what I know about folk in Edinburgh, it's a big thing. Hello, Vanessa.
Hello. Thank you. I heard about this from Interfaith Scotland, Francis Hewitt Interfaith Scotland. I'm very involved in Dundee interfaith associations and with other interfaith organisations. So there is interest, amongst not only the interfaith organisations, but the various projects that they support, the outreach projects, social inclusion, etc. And Scrap Antics is one. They're hosting a refugee festival. So I will... Sandy Green is the director of Scrap Antics, which is welcomes New Scots. So I don't know whether Alison Phipps is coming, but she might be interested in that. But so I'm interested in being an interfaith volunteer and speaking about speaking a bit about that. That's great.
Great. I don't know if Francis Hume's been in touch with you, but it's great. I'm really pleased about the partnership which is developing. So great.
Yeah.
On the Sunday.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, go on. So the idea is on the Sunday there'll be some reflections on resting and being thankful in different faith traditions as well. Yeah, that's the idea.
That's good. Yes.
Yeah.
The many are represented in Dundee and St Andrews. So I live in North Fife, so I can put posters up do publicity, help with that.
Thank you. I mean, my main final message before I think we're going to hear the Canaris Quintet as we finish, which is a lovely band going to play on the Friday, I think. Thank you, the main thing, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Really great. We've never done this before. We'll maybe do it again. Who knows? Thanks, everybody, and see you in 47 days. I hope. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.